Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's us, the Spoiled Rotten Gang.
This is Ben,
And I'm Daniel.
and we are live to you on that shelf.
That's a fact.
Boom.
Here we go. This podcast where we talk about, popular things or whatever we want to talk about. We
Yeah.
have wild conjecture on, rumors and articles.
Yes.
And we pick
put our
apart
own
movies.
yeah, and we put our own
spoil them.
spin on it, and of course we let you know what's inside our brains when we watch these, and then think about them obsessively for your enjoyment.
Exactly.
That's right.
So,
For today's entree,
Yeah, I
what
mean, you've
we've
probably
got
read the
here
title,
is
but-
Spider-Man: Far From Home.
I keep wanting to call it Homecoming, so I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say Homecoming too for some reason. But I think that's just because a Tom Holland interview was it's funny because when he shot Homecoming, he was thousands of miles away from home, and then when he shot Far From Home,
Right.
he's 10 minutes away from
They
his
filmed
house.
in London, actually.
Yeah, so
All
I'm just
right.
okay, that's kind of fun.
This was a homecoming for him. That's nice. I like that. All right, let's see what the rumor mill is churning out.
Yeah.
Here's a small one. Vanessa Kirby of I saw her first on The Crown.
Correct.
Then I saw her in
Mission
Mission Impossible
Impossible.
Fallout. She was really interesting. I have no idea why they put her in that movie, but she was great in it.
She was awesome in that
I
movie.
found that very interesting that they just
Loved
didn't really go anywhere with her, but
Yeah,
She
it
was
was
just
that's wasted potential for the M.
I don't even have wasted. I was just like, I can't believe you didn't end up on the cutting room floor because
Right.
you don't really add anything. But I'm surely enjoying this.
Yeah.
And you've seen her in the Hobbs and Shaw trailers.
Yes,
So
as
that's
Jason Statham's sister.
Yeah.
Where we finally know that now. So she's potentially rumored to be cast as Catwoman.
Well, they're looking at her.
Yeah.
I don't think the
Or
rumor is that
top
she's
runner
been cast.
is the top
Because
runner.
I feel like
what Matt
before
Reeves wants, or
they were really pushing Vanessa Hudgens as some. Not. I'm not saying anything official. I'm saying all the rumor mills were saying that.
Oh, I see.
The same ones are now saying Vanessa Kirby. I guess it's just the wrong Vanessa.
Yeah, and just to clarify that, it's because I like Vanessa Kirby's acting ability, and I know nothing of Vanessa Hudgens' acting ability. So that's my bias there.
It does seem like two different takes.
Yes.
And as I said off mic, I would rather she keep her British accent. If
Now, why
she
is
said-
that? I didn't ask you too many questions about that, but why?
I feel like that adds to what you'd like about her. I'm
Just
thinking
Vanessa
more
Kirby
about her
as a person?
I feel like that's what I'm thinking about when I think of her scenes in Fallout in particular. That kind of playfulness but dangerous. And
Right.
she's dangerous but kind of playful, and I feel like that goes really well with her
And
accent.
I don't think
And
I've
then
really ever
I've never heard
her do
go
a
for an
different
American accent,
right?
so I feel like I might lose something there, but who knows? She's a good actor. She can
We'll see
probably
what
pull
happens.
it off.
Yeah,
Or she might not be cast and it'll be all for nothing.
yeah, but
All right.
that's the rumor mill there. Quick, short,
That's lovely.
sweet.
Not a rumor, but it is a fact that The Flash has now lost, I don't even know, the 10th director.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it's not actually 10, but initially it was Lord and Miller. I know they just wrote it kind of, but I feel like the implication was they might direct.
Right.
They didn't.
Right.
Then it was Seth Graham Smith, the Lincoln vampire hunter guy.
Oh, okay. That movie
didn't-
is fun, by the
Nope,
way.
it is not for me.
It
I
is
find
a
it boring.
stupid movie, and I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Well, what's his face? The lead, the guy who played Lincoln, is in Jessica Jones, and Anthony Mackie's in it. So that's
Correct.
a Marvel thing.
Sure.
The
Stretching.
it's interesting in that sense.
Yeah.
I feel like he also did Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies or something like that.
I didn't even know that
Yeah, that's a thing.
got finished.
Oh no, it was out.
Oh.
From what I heard, it took itself way too seriously considering what the
title
subject matter was.
Yes.
After that was Rick Famuyiwa. I don't know how to pronounce his name,
Yeah.
but he did the movie Dope, which I love, and also The Wood, which I also love. So I was really looking forward to him doing The Flash. That didn't happen. Then there was that period where everyone's like, "Oh, it's definitely Robert Zemeckis," but they're just waiting. Like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Then it turned out it was the guys who wrote Homecoming,
Yes.
and directed Game Night, but also Vacation. Vacation wasn't great, but Game Night was good.
Yeah, still have yet to see
And-
that. I've just kind of lost confidence in.
No,
Will
it's
Ferrell's
I like
stuff.
the movie.
Right.
I'm not saying everyone will, but I thought it was really well done.
Sure.
And then it seemed like Ezra Miller didn't really sync up with their vision for the movie.
Yep. And then
Which
for
is
a while he
weird.
was kind of like, "Fuck it, I'm going to write this movie myself."
And he did,
then
and
he
then they
did,
were
and then it
like,
got
"No."
rejected. They didn't like it.
No,
So
thank
now
you.
he's like, "Okay, well, screw this." But it's just it at this point.
Hold
in
on,
time,
before we go,
Yeah.
and I'll just get to it.
And then one more.
Now it's Andy Muschietti, the
Right.
guy who did It, is possibly going to direct Flash. And now I just wanted to get that out because not to leave people hanging.
Right.
That's what we were
Yeah,
getting
I didn't
at.
really.
The new director.
Yeah, at this point, do you think it's even going to get made?
I mean, to the point that they're still looking at directors, I guess. I thought it was just done because his contract
Right.
and the guy who plays Cyborg's
Right.
is his name? No, right.
Ray
I'm
Fisher?
thinking about the character. Yeah, that's right. The
Yeah.
actor's name is Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
Both of their contracts expired like months ago.
Oh my God,
But-
that's rough.
Looks like they renegotiated with Ezra at least.
But I mean, like, because I get why they wouldn't do a Cyborg movie.
I don't.
I get why they wouldn't do it from the financial input, knowing that that movie is like heavily CGI and like
You
crazy.
keep saying that, but why would that be more CGI than Justice League?
It wouldn't
or,
be,
or
but I mean, like,
Aquaman?
it's not. But I also understand it from the perspective of DC's kind of like, okay, I guess we have to make our heroes fun, and the way they were pushing Cyborg in Justice League, he was not fun. Versus like Ezra Miller's Flash.
I don't know
is
that an
definitely
Andy
fun, right?
Muschietti Flash is fun.
Yeah, but that's I don't know.
And I'm pretty sure that was his whole thing. Is he was pushing for not fun.
Ezra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was pushing for like tortured and dark.
Yeah,
Which
that's weird.
This director
love
seems
that.
like he knows how to do.
Right. Well, yes.
So
If we're coming from that horror background.
So again, I don't get why they wouldn't do Cyborg.
That's true.
I feel like the CGI wouldn't be any more than having to create a whole world underwater.
Which is true.
I
for
don't
the
think it would be
Aquaman
any
thing,
more than
100%.
having everyone.
I would
being a
argue the
power person.
Aquaman would actually be more than the CGI for Cyborg.
That's
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting. I didn't say that loud.
Which
but yeah.
that's a fair point, and if they're pushing forward with the Trench movie and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, it just
I don't think the CGI is a problem for them.
Yeah,
I
but-
think even if you were doing Cyborg, it would be him and maybe his villain. Everyone else can be not CGI.
true. Do you feel like they're just at this point just like, oh, maybe they really didn't like Justice League, so we're just gonna like move away from those characters entirely, and
Other than Flash
other than
and
Flash,
Aquaman and Wonder Woman.
yes.
So
So like
the majority of
the,
the,
the main trilogy of the Justice League, they're just Oh well, Wonder Woman's got their own. Never mind.
yeah.
It's a half baked idea.
Yeah, I think I don't know why they wouldn't do Cyborg because I feel like
Right.
everyone makes fun of that movie, and I'm not saying everyone likes Cyborg, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the unknown factor going into it was Cyborg, and he got more of a positive reaction than negative.
Right.
I would say on the whole,
Yes.
with most people being like, "Oh, I would be interested to see what else he does with that character."
Oh, I totally would be interested to see
Yeah.
what else he does for sure.
But they're pushing along with Flash.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that about DC stuff. I think.
Yeah.
Is that that's
That's
it.
primarily it. I mean.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. Let's
mean-
talk about something we never really got around to because I was away. Jessica Jones,
Jessica
season 3,
Jones. Yes. Now, forewarning, I have only seen 2 episodes of this.
and I have
And
11 minutes.
You're
left to
11
watch
minutes
it.
left of this season. What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I don't like it. Here's the thing:
Why
Luke
don't
Cage
you like
is
it?
in the last episode, so
Oh,
that's
really?
nice.
That's
I,
pretty
I
cool.
really like seeing him. I don't know what.
That's a surprise considering he says like, yeah, I'm done with the character.
Yeah, I know, but
Well,
This-
so does
this-
Kristen Ritter. But
yeah, this scene isn't really like leading to like, oh, we're gonna have our own show soon. It's more like
I'm assuming it's more of a happy ending kind of thing.
nope.
Oh, wow.
He's like, it's the beginning of the episode, and
I honestly do
by the
not
way,
care
we're
if you
spoiling this.
Yeah, I do not care if you spoil this for me at all.
Because I will tell you my feelings afterwards. But it's the only thing that like made me like excited. I was like, oh shit, good. I'm glad they brought him back.
Yeah.
So basically, where this season is like, is Jessica gonna have to kill Trish? Is Trish just gonna kill Jessica to get her out of the way?
Right.
And so, like, for no reason, or maybe there is a reason and I wasn't paying attention because I haven't been really engaged, Luke Cage shows up at her doorstep, and he's just like, oh, you're Jessica Jones. She's like, yeah, you're Luke Cage. And I was like, these two have amazing chemistry. Why don't they do more things with these two together? Even in The Defenders, I feel like that Mike Coulter just has good chemistry with people.
I think so too. Like I enjoy his on-screen
like,
time
even
with
him
anyone.
and Iron Fist.
Yeah.
All the times they were together. I was like,
that second
this is
season
good.
of Luke Cage where there was that one random episode with Iron Fist and then he just
Or even
there's
The Defenders.
no continuation.
Yeah.
Like that was probably my favorite episode of that thing because it actually he brought life to Iron Fist.
Well, and I think he gets stuff out of the actors
I
in
think
the
so,
scene
too.
with him. Anyway, the point is, he's there, she's there, and she's like, you don't ever come to me. And he's like, yeah, well, I figured someone needed to talk to you because, like, it seems like you're going to have to do something pretty big, implying, like, you're going to probably have to hurt your best friend.
Right.
Or your sister, actually. And he's like, I have to do that with my brother, alluding to his first season showdown with his brother
Yes.
that he didn't know was his brother till the end. And he's like, so, yeah, it sucks to do it, but you got to do it. And she's like, who knows? He's like, nah, you got to do it.
Oh,
and
nice.
she's like, oh, okay. He's like, I would hope that, like, it doesn't mean you don't like them. It means you really care about them. And I would hope that, like, someone who cares about me would stop me if I ever go too far.
See,
basically playing off of the second season about, like, how he might be getting corrupted.
Right.
And she's like, is that, like, a fear of yours that you're going to go too far? He's like, yeah, you never know what'll happen.
Right.
And I'm like, is he being like, hey, like, just in case, like, come fuck me up if anything, if I go too far with this whole, like, running the mafia stuff. And then he goes away and the episode continues. But overall this season, I've just been like, the problem with this show is they keep invoking, like, superhero, hero, superhero, while just basically
She
being
doesn't
like
wanna be,
a
right?
Law and Order show. Like, there's no need for them to have superpowers.
No.
I don't even get the Lincoln guy's power. I know that's not his name. The actor who played Lincoln in Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I don't even get what his power is. I keep thinking he's lying. Apparently, he's not lying about his power.
Right.
Because he's still around and he's still doing, like, oh, I got a headache. And I'm like, what? What is this? How is this a power one? And what is it exactly? Again, I'm sure the show explains it, but I have not engaged, which is why we're not doing a full review or a spoiler.
Yeah.
I just
It's not worth our time.
I don't like it, and it's not because it's bad. It's because it is not working for me. And I think my main thing is I wish they would just commit to having a bad guy. Like, the best season they had, and I think the best season of all the Netflix stuff was season 1, where they had, like, Kilgrave, and you were like, I
Yes.
get it. Like, he is an intense villain, and he plays right into what they want to get across with her character. So dealing with him is developing his character and developing her, or at least like unraveling stuff about her character. So it works beautifully. And then they went 2 seasons of, like, I don't know, who's the bad guy? Is it the mom? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it Trish? Who could save really in this world? And I think the other problem is, and I'm not saying this would make it a perfect show. I think for me, it's hard for me to watch 13 hours of no one having a good time. Like,
Yeah.
there's no villain who's, like, having a great time being a villain. There's no, like, Trish isn't even really that happy that she has these powers.
Right.
She's, like, really beat up about it. And I'm like, that's what Kilgrave brought, is someone who enjoyed what they were doing.
Right.
Yes, he had moments of being like, it's kind of shitty that this is my power, but, like,
Yes.
you saw him being like, I like what I'm doing.
Yeah, he enjoyed tormenting her. And there was a
and-
general thing there. And her acting in that first season was amazing, too.
Or like
I loved
Luke
it.
Cage, Alfre Woodard looks like she's having a good time a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you need someone in the show that looks like they're having a good time.
Right.
even if it's for you to be like, oh, I can't wait for them to like get toppled down like with their hubris. Like it's just for me, it doesn't work for me to have everyone be depressed and everyone be a downer.
Well, I would agree with that from the perspective of everyone's a downer, then where's the motivation to do anything really? It's just like, do you really want to dominate the world, or like what's going on there? Or
And-
like, you know, if it's not like at least having a good time, have instead of depression, have like anger and rage and like revenge associated with it, right? But it doesn't sound like it's there. It just sounds like a whole season of like, will I, won't I, and that just seems
And also,
boring to
up
me.
until like the last couple of episodes, it seems like they're just like the idea is like if you're good at your job, it's probably because you're a dick, which I find like a weird little through line that's happening. Like the real like, don't get me wrong, like Hogarth does bad things.
Yes.
Trish is doing bad things, but they're also the only examples of people doing their job well.
Right.
In the thing, so you're kind of like, can we watch like someone
Yeah.
that's good at what they do who isn't being a dick?
Yeah.
And like and like in Trish's case, I'm kind of like, well, why are they beating up on her like this? Until again later on, you're just like, oh, she's just a full on like murderer, like killer, like she's crazy. She
Right.
needs to be stopped. But like up until that point, you're just like, so like I'm supposed to think she's a bad person for like training and trying to like take back power and like being effective at like seeking out bad guys and incapacitating them,
Right.
until she goes too far. But like the show just seems to have this weird through line of like, you know, like only shitty people are actually good at what they do and like can excel, because that's the whole like I don't even know the guy's name, the homeless guy that
Malcolm?
yeah
Yeah.
that guy. He's like in the middle of it being like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to be like Hogarth and his girlfriend
Yeah.
at the firm, also someone who's good at a job, but they keep being like, yeah, but that's because they like help bad guys do bad things, and you're like, okay, I guess I'd rather watch him like get head from a hooker and
Right.
like relapse. I don't know, like
Because my biggest thing was like, of the 2 episodes I have watched, Malcolm's story seems to be the one that's gripping me the most of it so far, in the sense where he's pulled his life together, but he didn't realize pulling his life together would mean that he would have to be this way. And of course he's working with Hogarth and all that kind of stuff, and he wants that referral and all that, but the way he was handling everything I thought was very, very interesting and effective. But that, to me, that dilemma in Malcolm is so much more interesting than anything that you're describing right now.
well, spoiler alert, he just quits because he's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
'cause
I figured
I'm
he
a
would.
bad
but,
guy.
Yeah,
I don't
but
wanna
like,
be a bad guy.
but
But
how
then
does he redeem
has-
himself?
He doesn't. He just breaks up with his girlfriend by like cheating on her again with a hooker.
With a
like,
hooker?
the
Yeah.
sister of the guy who plays Lincoln.
Right.
And that like just forces her away, even though she like goes out of her way to save him and like help him. And then he's just like, you're
But I
too
mean-
good for me. I don't like that. And I'm like, what? And
See,
then
but I get that. I get that mentality though.
I
Because
guess,
from
as
like,
I said, if he was a character like that in a show where everyone wasn't as shitless as
Right.
that, it would be more interesting.
See, that's why
that
I
would be
actually-
something different. That would be
yeah.
like but everyone's basically operating on that level of like,
yeah,
the only way for me not to be a bad guy is for me to like push away good things and like not be good at things.
right. But I mean, isn't that one of the quintessential things of like superheroes in general? That
No.
I mean, not in general, but this leads into the Spider-Man kind of thing that we're going to talk about later. But like, a lot of superheroes have that issue where it's just like, in order for me to be the hero, I have to actually be a loner and not have connections with anyone
Yeah,
else.
but
'cause
then
it
they're
puts them
good at what they
risk.
do.
Yes.
He's not good at what he does.
Malcolm?
I mean, he is, but then he wants to not be that way.
Right. So he just relapses.
So he's
and
not
does
like-
that thing. See, I get where he's coming from the perspective of, oh, you're too good to me. I'm going to self-sabotage this thing. I get that because I've been there before, especially with the relapsing and whatever, all
Right.
that kind of stuff. That to me is genuinely interesting to see explored on camera. But everything else that you're describing, it makes me want to leave it like Punisher. And here's how bad that is. I watched all of Glee because I watched 3 seasons of it with my ex-fiance, and it bothered me that I didn't know how it ended.
Gotta finish it. You
Yeah,
gotta
so I
finish it.
got to finish it. But like, even with Punisher and like what seems like you're describing with Jessica Jones, I probably will finish Jessica Jones because I mean, like, it is still a
probably
little
will like
bit
the Malcolm
more.
stuff.
Yeah, I would like the Malcolm stuff, and maybe the Hogarth stuff. But the stuff with the Punisher we've been through already. It's just hard to watch because he's just getting beat up all the time, and it's just like gory, and it's just like angry men with guns, and I'm just like, I don't like that. There's no, I mean, it's
not for us.
I don't. It's not for me.
Definitely not for us.
It's just not for me. I get that a lot of people like it. You're more than happy to, Bernthal I think was greatly cast as that role, but for me, I just didn't like that iteration of the Punisher. It didn't sit well in my stomach.
I would say I was never really like amped for a Punisher TV show. I feel like we talked about early on.
Yeah,
in the
we've
show.
talked about that
I
a
feel
lot
like
in the
what
sense where that's
works
a one
about
and
the
done
Punisher
kind of thing.
is it's what we liked in season 2 of Daredevil. That
He's a good
he
side
knows.
character. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, he's a good side character mostly because he already knows what he's doing is right.
Yes.
I mean, we don't know that as an audience that he is 100% right.
Yes.
It's just we know he thinks he's right.
Yes.
And so that makes it a little more interesting to watch him in sections sweep through and do what he wants to do.
Yes, because if you have him be the whole thing from his point of view, you just end up being like, oh, I'm watching a character with no character development.
Right.
And that's boring, obviously.
Right.
So
it didn't work for us.
Didn't work,
So there's that. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's get to the main thing.
Ba-ba-ba-ba. Far From Home.
I still was going to say the name of the movie wrong.
Yeah.
All right. It's starring Spider-Man and MJ and his friend Ned.
All his
That's the one.
friends. Yes, Ned.
Ned.
And of course,
Nick Fury, Maria Hill.
or is it?
It is kind of.
May
I mean,
Parker.
Nick Fury's in the movie. I don't know where Maria Hill went.
Yep. Happy Hogan.
Right.
Flash Thompson, Betty Brant, Brad Davis, all those guys.
Brad Davis, what a character! I didn't realize he's actually from the comics.
I didn't realize he was from the comics.
He's MJ's boyfriend before Peter gets with MJ. He's usually the quarterback or something,
right?
Football player.
Not the Flash Thompson.
Well, we're thinking about Raimi, but
right because they did. Yeah, they changed that.
I mean, who knows? Like based on who's writing it, maybe it is Flash Thompson.
Right.
But if you're talking about Brad Davis, usually that's his function in the comics. So they used him well here.
Yeah.
And Mysterio, obviously. And some people from other movies. Well, just the one guy from Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
Peter Billingsley. I don't care what his real name is, or the character name is.
Yeah.
Peter Billingsley. He was great. What did you think of the movie?
Loved it.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely
I was
loved
really
it.
worried
It
you were
was-
going to be like, no.
No, honestly, this to me is the quintessential Spider-Man movie. It had everything I wanted it to have from a Spider-Man story.
They fucking nailed Mysterio. I don't care. Like, I don't care about if
100%
people are
they
like,
nailed it.
the comics. He's better. I don't think I've heard that. But what I thought was like, they did a great job of taking a character I thought would suck because of what he can do.
Yes.
And making it perfect for the movie
Yes.
theater. Like, it is a great experience watching Mysterio do what he does on the big screen.
Oh,
and I'm
absolutely.
sure when I watch it at home. But
It was
like,
without a doubt like one of the best kind of like action sequences in the whole MCU was that like that hallucination or projection thing that he does on like awesome, just absolutely awesome. You get to see how Spider-Man uses his Peter Tingle. So to speak.
I'm still going to call it Spidey Sense.
Oh
but
yeah, everyone's
I know
going to call
what you
it
mean.
Spidey Sense.
I-
But we're just going with that because that's what they're calling it.
No,
But
I know.
the idea that he
I-
actually
I
has
really
to
like that.
active, yeah, the
I
idea,
really like
the
that.
idea he has to actually actively try to use that power as opposed to it just being like, oops, kind of like, oh, I'm just going to jump out of the way kind of thing. But and even with the Aunt May kind of gag, it's like, well, you can dodge bullets, but not a banana. And he's
I
like, no,
like
I'm
that-
distracted. It's,
I like that all plays into it because like throughout the movie you could be like, why like I remember the big thing was like, how come his Spidey sense doesn't go off when Ned gets hit with the dart or whatever?
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, like the movie is thinking about that.
Yeah.
They'll get there. Don't worry about it. Like I don't know how. I guess Happy was just talking to Aunt May, but he's like, "Yeah, I heard your Peter Tingle's not working. It's not working. What's up with that?"
Yeah.
But like, I really thought they did a good job.
Yeah.
I feel like the main complaint I hear is that the first half doesn't really work.
it's
with
a
people.
bit slow to pick
I
up.
liked it because it had the. Again, I'm sure people didn't go to the movies for this, but I like all the stuff with him and MJ and how he really wants to like execute his plan. So I was invested in that.
I was so invested in that because it was, to me, I'm like, I remember so many girls in my teenage years and in my 20s having plans like that to be like, this is how I'm going to win her heart. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be awesome. And then like the best friend being like, that's stupid. Don't
he's
do
like,
any of that.
oh, you forgot step 7. Don't do any of that.
Don't do any of that.
But I also like that how he had that plan and like basically everything falls apart on the plane.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like, he's like, did you see, not at the end, but like after the flight, he's like, did you see that they were laughing together, everything? And that's like, who cares? It's just on a plane. And he's like, oh, by the way, yeah, now I'm dating Betty.
Yeah,
like,
that was the funniest thing to me.
Because we had a plane ride together.
Yeah, that was without a doubt the funniest thing to me.
So good.
See, it does work. Damn it.
Yeah, so I thought all of that worked for me, but I also, as someone who's like, fucking get to the suit, I was like, well, I'm spending a lot of time out of this suit, man. But I think it's all good for building up to like basically the like that big release at the end. Like basically as soon as he hands over Edith and Jake Gyllenhaal's like, okay, like that wasn't that hard. We did it. Like you're like, oh, like I think someone else who was reviewing this said it the best. We know Mysterio is a bad guy.
Yes.
But it was just about how are they going to work that into this.
Yep.
And as soon as he was like, oh, I guess Tony would want me to pick who gets the glasses. It's not for me. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't see that coming. Like, that's cool. That's his angle. I liked that there was still a mystery around what his angle was.
Yes.
And
because that was the major
like,
thing. It was like whether or not he, how he's going to do it was the mystery. Not that, you know,
is he a bad guy?
Is he a good guy? Or that was never
Pauline
the mystery.
went to me basically right before the glasses were handed over. She's like, I thought you said he was a bad guy. And I didn't want to like really talk during the movie, but I was like, yeah, in the comics he is.
Yeah.
And like as soon as Peter starts saying that, Pauline's like, you idiot. No. And I'm like, I feel like as an audience, you're legitimately invested in being like, no, Peter, no.
Yeah.
Don't give it to him, even if you don't know. Like,
because
you're just like, no, it's clearly not for him.
Because I get why an audience that's not unfamiliar with the character would think that, in the sense where it's like, if you're familiar with the MCU in itself, you would have a trustworthiness of what Nick Fury would assess in a situation. And if Nick Fury is like, we need this guy, and like we have full trust behind this guy and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of like, okay, so he is a good guy. It's kind of like you second guess yourself if you don't know.
Well, I guess Pauline was more like, when are they going to get to him being a bad guy? Unless like, you're lying to me, he's a good guy. Yeah. I think she was more, and I think that's why the movie still works, because even if it isn't about like, oh, I already knew he was bad. It's more about like, well, what is his angle?
Yeah, how's he going to do it? What did he want to do? What's his motivation?
And I was completely surprised when he was like, when you're like, oh, so he was there during Civil War, being like, fuck this guy for calling it barf.
Yeah,
like fuck you.
That to me is like that whole angle of like, we're all ex-Stark employees that are just trying to get our revenge and like get
and
back
he's gonna
on
give
top.
this to a kid instead of us. Like,
and it was I get why that would be insulting. It's like, you're gonna give a 16-year-old kid this multi-billion-dollar tech that is like amazing for everything, and you shit all over us, and Stark uses our technology for his own therapy or something like that, and he shat all over it and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, that is a very, very interesting but also politically reflective of a lot of what's going on right now politically, of the angles. It's just like, seriously, like people feel entitled or feel like they earned something. Like the entire time I was thinking of the Brett Kavanaugh thing, of how he's like, listen, like, this is how this is supposed to be. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do this. And now because of this thing, you're threatening to take that all away from me. And then he just like blew up and all that kind of shit, right?
And I guess like Brett Kavanaugh, Mysterio wins in the end anyway.
Yes.
But we will save the post-credit stuff till the end.
Yep.
But yeah, I think they did a good job of that. They definitely did a good job of making me be like, I don't even really mind that we're not dealing with Spider-Man so much. I saw people be upset that like they feel like Spider-Man's sidelined, but for me it read as like, yeah, he's a kid. Like, he's not as good as other superheroes, so he would gladly be like, okay, yeah, Mysterio, you do it.
Yeah,
and then
because-
I'll just be here to help because I don't want to be here. One and
Mm-hmm.
two, if it were up to me, I still wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
Like I would still be like, can't you get Thor or Captain Marvel? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like I don't want to do this.
Because here's the one thing I was thinking about this one particular movie is that in this version of the MCU, this Spider-Man version of the MCU, you don't see the Ben Parker death. So you don't actually
Well, yeah,
see...
they've basically made it Tony Stark.
Yes.
Which I think is weird, but whatever.
I don't think they've made it Tony Stark in the sense
So
where...
when Mysterio does his thing and you're
Right.
at the grave, you're thinking like, oh, this is where we're gonna like really dig into his guilt about what
Yes.
happened to Uncle Ben, but it goes to Tony. Like it's all pushing Tony as the
Yeah.
mentor figure that he feels, because he even says,
Yes.
if you were strong enough, you would have saved him, which is a thought process you would keep for Ben Parker, not
Correct.
Tony Stark.
But what I'm getting at here is the origin story aspect of Spider-Man, where he is selfish to, and his selfishness ends up in the death of someone he loves. There was no selfishness from the Endgame Infinity War stuff for Spider-Man. He was just like, I'm just going to do this because I need to do this kind of thing, and he stepped up to the plate. But this time around, he was being selfish, and that was, to me, the replacement for the Ben Parker death was the fact that I gave up this multi-billion-dollar tech. People are going to die. People are in danger because of what I've done, my recklessness, and now he's learned his lesson. Now he is the true Spider-Man to me, which is really, really cool. So they just kind of, yes, they used Tony in that role of Ben Parker for the guilt aspect, but I've never seen a colossal mess up until now for Spider-Man in the MCU.
Oh, the fairy was a colossal mess up.
The fairy
in
was, I mean, it was, I wouldn't
That
say it's
put-
colossal.
I mean, it's a big deal.
It's
You
a-
put a
it-
lot of
yeah.
people's lives at risk.
Yes, it was a big deal, but not as, I mean, this to me
Or
cemented it a
even
lot more.
the drone strike in this movie.
Yes, that was very, very funny.
Again, I get that you're saying like what eventually could happen if
Yes.
Mysterio got those glasses, but it seemed like he was well on his way.
Right.
Like, as you can see at the end of the movie, like he still has ways of screwing people over and like
Oh, yeah.
doing a bunch of stuff without the glasses. The glasses were kind of the last thing, and I see that more of like it makes sense to do that. That's not something where I'm like, oh, like you idiot. No, like yes, we're adults and we can be like, and we know who Mysterio is, but I understand how that movie was basic. That's why I'm saying they're using Tony Stark, because he's looking for another Tony Stark.
Yes, of course.
The promotions are all like, who's going to be the next Iron Man? But it's really like he's looking for who's the next Iron Man, and he's like, oh, I guess it's Mysterio.
Yes.
And I can't really be like, that's a colossal mess up that you like trusted someone who did everything to saying things like, hey, don't ever apologize for being the smartest person in the room, and like
Yes.
built him up the way he did.
Yes.
That's just the effectiveness of Mysterio. That's what he has going for him. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I still feel like it is a weird thing to like put so much of his development on Tony Stark and Tony Stark related things.
Yes, for sure.
But it's also a way to differentiate him from the other movies.
Yes,
So,
for sure.
that- I'm not mad about it. It's just like I feel like that's an element for people to jump in and be like, this sucks, because I've seen a bunch of people be angry at this movie online.
Really?
Yeah, like a lot of
What are-
I wish I could see a Spider-Man movie about Spider-Man and not Iron Man Jr. and talking about how he's being sidelined in his own movie, which I don't agree with.
don't agree
because
with
I
at
feel
all.
like MCU, and when we get to the at least mid-credit scene, MCU's not really interested in like secret identities. So like if you're in for Peter Parker, you're basically watching the Spider-Man stuff. So like, there's a lot of Peter Parker stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like he mostly introduces himself as Peter Parker. Like,
He does all the time.
So
Like
he's
every,
not
every time he
really,
meets a new person, he's like even in the Infinity War thing, he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're using our made up names. I'm
Right.
Spider-Man." Then because he always like, "Hey, I'm Peter. Hey, I'm Peter." Hey,
Yeah.
like to every single person. Like that's who he is, right?
so that's So I don't really feel like he's being sidelined. It's just,
I completely disagree with him being sidelined in this movie. I think it's just an overarching element of like, what's it like to be that young, have that much power and that much responsibility? You're going to mishandle it, and I think that
we're watching his learning curve.
yeah, we're watching his learning curve, but also the stakes are higher now because Iron Man's gone. So it's just like it just
Well, it
doubles
seems
down.
like
on
everyone's
that.
gone.
Well, yes. So, by the way, one of the funniest things is not speaking of, that was a while ago, but the moment they mentioned Captain Marvel to Maria Hill and Nick Fury, or the quote unquote Maria Hill and Nick Fury, the way they mentioned Captain Marvel, I was like, something's up with this.
Oh, because he's like, don't invoke her name.
Yeah, don't invoke her name. I'm like, that doesn't seem like something he would ever say.
But also, I don't get it. Either one of them wouldn't say things like don't invoke her.
Exactly. It's just like, it just made no sense to me.
Yeah.
So I was just like, something fishy's going on here,
Yes.
and I never thought it would be Skrulls, but
I also felt like "bitch, please, you've been to space" is not really a.
It's not a Nick Fury.
It's a
thing.
Samuel Jackson thing to say, but
Yes.
not a Nick Fury thing to
I
say.
agree. Yeah.
At that period, so I like that the movie, maybe like how come you can dodge bullets but you can't dodge a banana.
Yeah.
I like that the movie was like, like if you just stick with this, we'll get to that. These aren't mistakes. These are just we're building to something here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I really appreciated about the movie. That, for the most part, if you were like, that doesn't make sense, the movie sorts that out.
Yeah.
Like the movie will let you know why.
Yeah.
I loved the in memoriam at the beginning of the movie.
That would. Oh my God. We have to talk about that. Like the
That was
moment
really
the
what
Marvel Studios logo came up and we
And it
heard
was
Whitney, and I was like, "This is going to be the funniest thing in the world." And the fact that it was just like Betty Brant and the other like announcer guy, Jason, who was blipped out. Like I really appreciated that. Like to me, this
I
movie,
loved their take on the blip.
Yeah.
Or I like calling it snap, but
Yeah.
yes, they're like it's the blip, and other people pointed out. I was like, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
That like. If you were blipped out, you wouldn't know that was Thanos. You would just be like, I was gone and then I was back. It was like a blip. Yeah. So that made sense to me. And I love the footage of like the band disappearing and then reappearing in the middle of
a basketball game. That was so funny because I was just like, yeah, how did that all happen? Like, did they reappear in the same spot? Like what happened there? Very, very interesting stuff, and the idea of like even, Aunt May having that dialogue at her feast kind of like thing.
And she's like, someone thought I was a ghost.
Yeah, someone thought I was a ghost, or someone thought I was someone's mistress or something like that, until I explained that this is my place, like you're kind of in it. That was... I love how they dealt with the practicality of that, because to me, and I'm glad we had a couple days before we recorded this, because I watched this on Tuesday, but I thought, like, how is this possibly capping off phase 3 of the movie, until I realized, oh no, wait, that does cap off everything properly, because like if they just ended it with Endgame and then launched into something else and didn't actually address the technicalities of the blip, that would have been, I think, upsetting to a lot of people out there. Less so to me, but I mean,
Definitely
I still would have
matter to me. But
yeah,
I like that they dealt with that, or like even the Flash thing where they're like, he's not actually 21, he just blipped, and they're like, and like. Yeah. I was like, like so many people could do that, because it's not like your ID changes. Like you could just be like,
you could just lie and be like, I'm going to drink now.
I mean, that actor is definitely older than 21 and looks it, but like, Tony Revolori, I think is his name. I loved like just, and it's not like they're dwelling on it. It's like all part of like other stuff going on, because I didn't even. I had to listen to someone else's review to even catch it. Oh, so that means Aunt May blipped out too.
Yes.
And I was like, I didn't even catch it. I was just like, someone thought you were a ghost. Shut up. Yeah. Let's keep going with the movie. But like, the movie is giving you so much information.
The dialogue is so rich with information of like the practicality of what happened there.
I know it probably wouldn't work if it was a different actor, but I liked all that information dump from Quentin Beck, when you like actually learn what the actual plan is, because he's talking for a long time.
Yeah, that montage.
But like it works, because he's got so much. You're watching someone liking what they're doing.
Yes,
and that's infectious, and so you're like, you can't help but like get caught up in the like passion of the moment of like him being like, and like shout outs to you, like you're the one that found out about this, and you did that, and like
you technologically in this, like to me that was important, because it's just like if they didn't explain that, then it would have been like, oh, Nick Fury really is off his game and everything like that, or the 5-year lapse really did affect him.
Because I like that he said like I went away for 5 years and now I don't know anything. Like, because then I would have been like, well, that explains everything. I won't think anything's up. Like he is playing catch up,
right?
But like then you find out it's
But,
Talos. But
yeah.
like, I really liked that this movie pays attention to like the big questions you would have,
Yes.
and layers it into like
Yeah.
propelling the plot forward or
Yeah.
the story forward.
Yeah, it does address a lot of those endgame questions very, very well. It does a lot of different things, and that that opening was just even like the co-announcer's like, you can't swear here. He's like, it's the last day of school. Who cares?
Yeah.
That was really, really funny to me. And the idea of just like them having like, oh, like this is this person and this is this person now. The interesting
Davis.
Yeah, Brad Davis.
We definitely have to talk about that character because I was like, I did not think I was going to like this at all.
Yeah.
And I am here for this. I love this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, just showing him being like, or like how Jason was like, so now like my little brother's older than me. Weird.
Yeah.
But
that was really funny.
But yeah, Brad Davis obviously likes MJ.
Yes.
And who wouldn't? Like, if you were in high school with her, you'd probably be like, wow, she's cool.
Yeah.
And I like that he, like, at first you think, like, maybe he just likes her and doesn't really care what Peter is up to. But when he's just straight up like, I got you. Like,
Yeah.
I got a picture of you, which he thinks is him having sex with a hooker. He's like,
Right.
I'm going to get you. Like, I cannot have you being with MJ. Like, I want to be with her.
Right.
And this is going to, like, make it happen. I was
Because
like,
up until that scene, I didn't really get that there was any infatuation or anything like that. Maybe the whole, and this is where like, oh, he sat next to her, the dual headphone splitter and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that did happen on the plane in the same way Ned and Betty got together and everything like that. But
no, I knew he liked her, but I was just like,
Yeah, I didn't know
Because
that.
they made a point of being like, it's weird that he gets to go on this trip, and made me be like, oh, now that he's talking to MJ, I feel like he's probably like, oh, I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
on this trip
that
with
part
MJ.
was weird to me in the sense where it's like, so wait, does the blip? Well, they talked about it as like, oh man, they blipped back out, and then they're making us repeat this whole year or something
Yeah, it's
like
like
that.
we would already done midterms. This
Yeah,
isn't
we
fair.
already did midterms. We got to do it all over again. That was kind of funny. But if he didn't blip and he's 5 years ahead, then I'm just wondering, like the practicality wise of that 5 year gap. Did everything stop? Like there's like, yeah, we're not doing school anymore because we're
I
like, I'm
feel
sure
like
they
he
would have.
probably just wouldn't have been. I guess they said he was at that school, but isn't there only like 4 years of university?
Well, that's a
High school.
Yeah.
I don't mean university.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like, would they have gotten other people that would teach?
My
I don't
thought
know,
was he
but-
must have been someone's little brother who like was aware of what was going on, and then they were probably just like, yeah, sure, you can go on this trip if you want. Like if you know these guys,
Right.
Sure, whatever, who cares?
Okay.
Didn't seem like there was like a lot of people
Yeah,
there,
and it didn't seem like it was one class or
it
something
seemed
like
like
that.
a small group.
Yeah, it seems like a very, very concentrated small group of people
Yeah.
that were like, I didn't really fully understand what the whole trip was about, other than the fact that he's going on a trip.
Because
usually
I thought it
there's-
was just like to be like, hey, like here's to make up for your shitty like being away for 5 years. But I think they legitimately like, no, this is a science trip because they went with the science teachers.
Yeah, J.B. Smoove as Mr. Dell, the science teacher, and Mr. Martin Starr as Mr. Harrington.
Yeah.
The debate teacher, or like,
Well,
I've only seen him
but
in the
they're both
debate.
science.
Yeah,
They're both.
they're both
science.
science. Okay, so that was super interesting to me because I'm like, you think if they were going for a science trip that they would go to Switzerland for CERN, as opposed to like Florence.
Well, I don't know why
'Cause
they
Florence
went
was the
to
first
Venice
place, right?
first.
Because they were like, oh, the Da Vinci
Okay.
Museum, and they're like,
Okay, so
yeah,
then-
it's
so
closed
then they
until
were-
November. Yeah, so
But
I guess they were
that I
looking at the
understood
history. Okay,
as
that makes sense.
Nick Fury and possibly Mysterio manipulating things so that they would be where they needed to be when they needed to be there.
But I thought that was only after. That
Well,
was
that's what
only
I'm saying.
after.
But that's what I'm saying. They went to Venice for the Da Vinci Museum. But I think anytime they move, that's
Yes.
not like I saw people being like,
When they went
wouldn't
to
like
Prague, it
wouldn't
didn't
you
make
know
sense.
that it was closed? I'm like, well, I'm sure like it wasn't. And then
Hey man,
they
I went
closed
to
it on purpose.
Amsterdam and I didn't know the Picasso Museum
Yeah,
was
but
closed.
you weren't
for
taking a school
a
trip.
full
You weren't
year.
taking a school trip there. Where
Yes,
you weren't
but, I mean,
Antarctica.
yeah.
But I think like it was open, and then they
Yes.
closed it on purpose to make it Spider-Man available to do the things they needed.
Oh, good point. Good point.
That's
yeah. I
anytime
can see that.
anytime things change. That's how I took it, and I kind of like that the movie wasn't like implicitly, like, oh, okay, and, like showing Nick Fury being like, "Beep, boop, hey, can you close, please?" Or
Yeah.
like, oh, let's upgrade them to do this. Like
Yeah.
I felt like that was the thing. He has the conversation with them, and they're like, nah,
Okay.
we need
And
to
I'm just
we need
like,
to blow this up.
All right. He's like, okay, well, there's a roadblock. I removed it. What's the problem? He even
Yeah.
says that, and I really like that. He's just like, okay, cool. Yeah. So the entire time, like the side characters of like the class trip and everything like that, very little screen time for a lot of them, but very effectively well done. Like every time Flash was on screen, I actually really enjoyed it.
And then I felt bad for him.
I felt bad for him, but
When his
it
mom
felt,
didn't show up to like
Yeah.
pick him up, and I didn't clock it because I was too busy. We'll get to the character in a second.
Right.
It shows that he's texting his mom like, "Hey, like I haven't heard from you or dad in like days."
Yeah,
And
but
I
that
was
to
like,
me is
oh,
like kind of what makes me be like that character more. It's just
No,
like,
I like it.
Oh,
I
you're
was
being a dick because
Well,
you're
and
getting
he
no
even
affection
said-
and love at home or something.
He
like
even
that.
says like, "Oh, like I'm obviously this way because like no one likes me."
Right.
'Cause when they're getting attacked by the drones and everyone like
Yes,
admits
when-
something.
Yeah, that was a great scene, by the way.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm in love with Spider-Man's aunt. And
We're
he's like,
sharing, right?
I thought we
Is that
were
what
sharing.
But yeah, because I was more interested in the Dimitri guy because that is the name of Chameleon, and I
Yes.
was like, please don't have another shapeshifter. They didn't do anything with him, so I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
This is an instance where I'm like, good. Like
Because that-
we don't need another shapeshifter
Yeah.
like running around.
There was speculation whether or not Dimitri was the Crimson whatever, right? And like that's
I
like
only heard
basically a
Chameleon.
Soviet version, Soviet Union version of Iron Man.
Oh no.
So
I didn't-
a lot of people were being like, was that a nod to Crimson? But like because I read I watched the book review stuff on YouTube.
I think they already used that up in Iron Man 2. That's Whiplash and Crimson Dynamo were
Oh, Crimson Dynamo, right?
Yeah,
That's what it is.
those were already melded to make whatever
I see.
Mickey Rourke was in Iron Man 2 because I don't think they give him a name.
Right.
Everyone saw the Whiplashes, but he also is using Iron Man tech.
Yes.
and he's Russian, so that was decidedly an amalgamation of Crimson Dynamo
okay.
and Whiplash already. So I didn't ever think anyone who's been paying attention would ever thought that
Well,
he was Crimson Dynamo.
yeah, I
I'm not
was just
saying
like, yeah.
you got that information from a video, but
Yeah.
it seems weird that the video
Well, they
knew enough about that character but
Yeah.
didn't realize that's exactly what happened in Iron Man 2
Yeah.
already.
To be fair, the character they were like, now this is a bit of a stretch, and then they said that.
Because they had Chameleon right in front of them. His name is Dimitri.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. To me, I'm just like, is that?
and he
Like,
looks,
what's going
and
on
as
there?
many people said, he looks like Kraven the Hunter, and Chameleon is Kraven the Hunter's brother.
Yes.
So like, I feel
It
like they
made sense.
made a point of. I feel like they wanted you. That's kind of this movie was
I
trying
didn't
to
even think
deceive you.
about that actually. That's
Yeah.
a great connection there. Good for you.
I feel like the movie did a good job of being like, no, look over here, like what's
Mm-hmm.
Dimitri doing, and then that's what I was looking at during the Edith scene. Also, I really like the name of Edith, even dead,
That-
I'm the hero.
Yeah, that's hilarious to me. It was just it's such a Tony Stark thing to do.
But then it plays into Mysterio at the end
Yep.
because he gets called the greatest superhero. We won't say by who yet, but he gets called the greatest superhero ever,
Yep.
meaning even though he's dead, he's the hero.
Yep.
So that was I thought it was a nice little poetic sign off
Yes.
to the character.
Yes.
What else happens in here? Oh, the zombie Iron Man was very effective. I thought they did a good
Oh,
job.
that
with
was
it.
crazy cool.
I was really happy they didn't put his voice in it because obviously he's everywhere in this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, if he's the voice of the glasses, I feel like they're not really committing to the whole he's dead thing.
Yeah, because there was a lot of speculation whether or not Tony Stark was going to be the new AI to train Spider-Man and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And
Which-
I'm glad it isn't.
I'll say this: if it happened,
It
I
would've been cool.
personally wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But I would just be annoyed by all the people like, "Oh, you see, he's not dead yet," and I'd be like,
Yeah, that's what would annoy me too. But I personally that would have been a cool thing to do. But at the same time,
And
it's
it's
just
what
like
they did in the comics.
Yeah,
he's
but
he's the AI for
Yeah.
Ironheart.
yes,
So I would have been fine with it, but I also just don't want to hear anybody like complaining about
yeah,
not
Yeah.
committing to the death.
Yeah.
So I was glad, for my sanity's sake, that they didn't do it.
yes,
And I was also glad they didn't do Chameleon.
mm-hmm.
And I was glad they did not do Norman Osborn or Harry Osborn or Gwen Stacy, which all were rumored heavily to be in the movie.
right.
And I was like, yeah, this only because I feel like Ned is his best friend.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how you would ever work in Harry.
Yeah,
properly.
that's
Like,
an
it's
interesting angle because like the Ned thing is very much a lot of the Miles Morales kind of thing because Miles.
Well, that's Genki. Yeah.
Yeah, Genki is
He
kind of
looks like Genki,
Yes.
but it's called Ned Leeds, and Ned Leeds I think
yes,
is a villain. In
Ned
the,
Leeds, but it's a different character altogether. But it's from the comic books, it's very much that
Yeah.
character. You know, you're absolutely right. If they introduced Harry Osborn into this, I'd be like, how are you going to dethrone Ned? Like, how's that going to work? I initially thought maybe, Ned and Betty stay together. They're running their own thing. Peter gets mad, and then he meets like a
I was
kind of
sad they didn't stay together, but I also like the payoff of the joke. Of
I love that payoff.
Oh, that was this is just a summer fling.
Yeah.
But
And
then it
he's-
did not. I felt really bad that also happened to Happy when it
Oh,
was
I
just
felt
like,
so
oh no, we're a
bad.
summer fling, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that was so funny.
People don't like Aunt May in this movie, but I was like, no,
Why?
I like it. I like that she's just doing her own thing. Like,
I loved Aunt May in this movie.
she seems like really like, yeah, this is good. Like, I like my life.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, good for her. She didn't really get to do anything, but also I appreciated her presence every time she was around.
I think she did. I mean, like, for the movie to not be based in New York and for her not to be chaperoning on the trip, she did
Yeah.
a lot from the perspective of, she's now the organizer of Feast, and she has
she pushed him to have his suit.
Yeah, she pushed him to have the suit on and all that kind of stuff. She does a lot, but a lot of it's not credited or as much as
No, I
other
just
people
mean
would have
she's
done.
not really influencing the plot.
Yes.
Because like
She's
even
not- yeah.
I guess if she doesn't put his suit in the thing, he goes directly to the Night Monkey suit.
Yes.
Don't like the name, but whatever.
I love
I get that
the
he made
Night
it up,
Monkey
but
thing.
I'm just always like, ugh.
Is without a doubt the funniest thing in the world. I loved that. It was so funny. Just because it's a temporary gag, and then and then even like when they were in Berlin, he's like, Night Monkey, like the information
someone ran
spread
away
that
from-
fast.
ran away
It was
from him being like,
so
"Oh, no, Night Monkey."
funny. Yeah, I loved it. It's good times. Favorite moments from this movie aside from everything we've already discussed. What do you think?
I like the moment when their cards are kind of on the table.
Yep.
I'm talking about MJ and Peter.
Right.
And he's like, wait, were you just following me because you thought I was Spider-Man? She's like, yeah, obviously. Like, she obviously wasn't. But, like, I like how hurt he looked by that. He was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's like, why? And he's like, it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
fine. And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
He's sad.
Yep.
It's Peter Tingle won't work.
But you know what? I like. There's two things that really stood out in this movie to me. It really did make me appreciate the adolescent kind of like storytelling side of things. Something I've lost for a long, long time. And this movie really did. Yeah, that's fun. This is genuinely like the tribulations and the challenges that a teenager would experience during that period of time.
Right.
It was very interesting to watch and relive again, to be like, oh yeah, I remember I used to do that with this girl or
Yeah.
whatever, and be like, I have all these plans, and now I'm just like, don't plan anything, you dummy. Plans always fail, and just like buy tickets and be like, we're gonna go here.
Yeah.
That's it.
I like when they bonded over the Black Dahlia stuff.
The Black Dahlia was good. You know what like scene got me the most was when with Peter and Happy in the plane.
Yeah, that was a really good scene.
They
tease it in the trailer, but they don't really get into what's really going on. That's really
Yeah,
good stuff.
that
Like
broke me. I was
initially,
like, holy
like
shit, I
before
cried
they even
again.
get on the plane, he's like so fucked up about what Mysterio can do to him, and he's like, just say something only Happy would know. Just say, and
Yeah.
like I get that it leads to a joke, but it's also like, no, this guy's like. Mysterio had a real effect on him.
Yes.
This is not like he
turned
isn't
his
just like,
world
I'm not going to
upside
just
down.
laugh this off.
and he just got hit by a train. It's
Yes.
like there was so much emotion in that, just the first time Mysterio beat Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff, and just leading into the Happy thing. Like, yeah, that was like, just tell me something you would know. It was heart wrenching,
And
and
then
then
when
they
he's
build
like,
up to
"Don't-"
it. The payoff was so good.
And when he's like, don't tell me to calm down. Like I'm not gonna just calm down about this.
Yeah.
I thought he did a really good job of playing that.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Because to me, now Tom Holland, because you know how like previously I've always argued that Tobey Maguire was the best Spider-Man. I now believe Tom Holland is the best
Welcome
Spider-Man.
to the club.
Yeah, because
Welcome to the club.
to me, I'm just like, he really understands the Peter element, and he really understands the Spider-Man element
Yeah.
so much better than Toby did. And don't get me wrong, Toby was great.
To be fair to Tobey Maguire, that seemed like a real collaboration with him and his director.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't think Sam Raimi fully understands the difference between Peter and Spider-Man.
I believe you're correct.
I get that Sam Raimi definitely understands the Peter Parker aspects of things.
Yes. But not so much the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You're
I want to take
right.
some of that off of Tobey Maguire.
Sure.
Only because I bet it's quite clear he hired Toby strictly for the Peter Parker stuff.
100%, and he was a very effective Peter Parker. But Tom Holland is
he knows how to do both.
Spider-Man and Peter Parker. He understands how to do both, and just the idea that I thought when they were like, okay, we're gonna do each year of high school or something like that. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, no, this is great. This works out really, really well.
I like it. Another happy moment I liked was, without saying anything, him being like, "You are like Tony," when he's like piecing together the suit and just
he put black and black on.
I love Led Zeppelin. That was a nice button.
To me, that was one of the funniest things because it was just like it was a quintessential Peter thing to be like the few times he's like, you ever see this really old movie? Mm-hmm. And he did that. He had the same effect through this time, but just not recognizing the band. And it was just like, oh, I love Led Zeppelin. I'm like, that that's
was
great.
Good.
It was
I
really
also
good.
liked when Nick Fury was like, Tony told me to tell you, like, Heavy was the head that wears the crown. He's like, he said you wouldn't get it because it wasn't a Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
I like that. I also like that, in general, Tom Holland is like, I don't really care about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, they're really, like, pushing it, because I've seen him in some interviews, and he's just kind of like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I don't know Star Wars.
Yeah, that's like, this is just my character, guys.
I'm Peter Parker likes Star Wars.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked all those character moments, and I thought everything to do with right before he gets hit by a train, everything that Mysterio puts him through on that, and everything.
Oh my God. Visually, that was just
once he has to use his spider sense,
in the
I
fight?
really liked that at the
God.
end.
Yeah,
and that he even knew to like grab the gun like from the side and stuff like that. I was like, this is great use of Spider-Man and a villain. Like,
yes,
they like. My hat's off to the director. Like, John Watts did a great. I know it's a team, but like, I would like to hope that this was kind of his vision and how he wanted to execute all these things that he needed to execute.
Yeah.
So he did a great job of leading everyone that is a part of that to get there.
Right. I really liked the fact that this was not an iteration of Molten Man or like Hydro Man or anything like that.
Well, they do legitimately reference Hydro Man.
They do.
He was like, hey, I heard on BuzzFeed that like what's his bench, which is Hydro Man, fell off a boat and he's got powers. So I liked just that nod to it, but I'm also fine if this is just how the elementals are, and I don't really care to like watch faceless monsters
I don't really
be
care.
a part of I've heard people be like, well, come on, look, this is like the Mandarin. Like, why wouldn't they use the elemental? Like, who the hell cares about elementals? Like, that was just a good way of doing it, and I loved when.
Because like
keep on
honestly,
calling Jake Gyllenhaal. I love when Quentin Becca's like, your story is so crazy, and people believe it. Like, this is what people want. That snap really fucked things up, man. Like, people will actually believe this shit.
Yeah, it's funny because like, it's such a good commentary politically on everything that's going on right now. It's just like the whole idea of fake news, spinning the narrative, making people question everything. It was so well done from this. So well done. I loved it.
Yeah.
Without being overtly political.
I thought I was looking at you're right, but I was looking at more just like fandom and like what going into this, everyone being, oh my god, like multiverse. Like, people clapped in my theater when they said, I'm like, did you not see the and I guess people do that now. They're like, I don't want to watch any trailers. So like, maybe that was someone's first time hearing the acknowledgement of multiverse. People clapped for that, and I was like, I mean, I'm not really here for that, but like, good. Like, we already saw Into the Spider-Verse. I don't need everything to be that. Like, it's kind of nice that this is just a straightforward.
I'm very happy and relieved that it's not a multiverse. To be perfectly
I'm sure
honest.
they're getting there. Don't get me wrong. Like, again, when we talk about the post-credit scenes, I'm sure that there's going to be an element of that.
Maybe.
It's just, I like that this movie didn't get into it, because I think they made a good point of being like, Spider-Man is ground level. Like, he had his adventure in Endgame and Infinity War, but like, that took a toll on him. That was a big deal for him.
Yes.
He works better on the ground doing these types of things.
100%.
And I like that the movie stuck with that.
Yeah, I agree. It was really, really effectively well done. Let's run through the cast.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Tom Holland, we've talked to
He's great.
about Death. Fantastic. Samuel L. Jackson in this movie.
I'm here for I like it. I thought he was great.
I liked it after they did the Talos.
I liked it during
reveal.
Baby. I liked I like his performance. It didn't really sync up with. Like, I feel like people were like, "Oh, the Nick Fury and Captain Marvel doesn't match up," and I was like, "No, that matches up to me." Like,
no, it matches up,
makes
but you
sense
also have to
me
remember that was like
yeah,
Nick
like
Fury
that's
in the
90s,
and then this is like 2000.
Whereas this one, I was like, "This doesn't really match up," but I still like what's happening. And then
Because-
the movie explains it, and then I was like, "Oh, okay."
This happens immediately after Endgame, and Endgame is like 2023, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, this tracks the entire time through. It tracks.
No, I meant like I don't feel like he wouldn't say these types of things. Like he seems like he's having a little too much fun. Or
Oh,
like-
I see.
And then you realize it's because it is someone who's having a fun time pretending to be Nick Fury.
Yes. No, that's what I meant with the whole thing. Like the Nick Fury character was like it was bothering me up until they did that reveal, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, got it.
I was having too
Makes
much
sense.
fun to be bothered, but I understand how people would be bothered.
Yes.
I was just like, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad this is happening, even though it doesn't really make sense.
Right.
And then they made it make sense, and I was like, perfect. Oh yeah, that was a scene I really liked, and it's more on Colby Smulders, and when he said, "Don't ever apologize for being the smartest person in the room," and like basically for the rest of that conversation, Maria Hill and Nick Fury are kind of like, "Fuck you, man!" Like,
Yeah.
like they'll just go like, whatever, or like roll their eyes or whatever he does. I'm like, that's good. I like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I would believe that they would. Actually, I wouldn't believe they would do that,
Right.
but I liked that in the moment. I'm like, they're getting a little petty. I like that. I like that moment a lot. But other than that. Oh, and then when Maria Hill snipes the drone out of the air,
Yeah.
I like that moment.
That was a great moment because I was just like, well done.
Yeah.
Well done. You guys have your own secret little language kind of thing. You understand what's going on. You have been working together.
And then you find out
so
it's 'cause they're
long,
married.
and it's awesome. Wait, what?
Because she is
Oh, Talos and
Yeah,
Oh,
his wife.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like Nick Fury.
Nick Fury and
yeah.
Maria Hill are not married.
Yeah, of course not.
But also, I'm sure they could work just as well together. But
Yes.
when you realize you were just like a part of someone's marriage for that brief second, that was cool. Also, his one line, like they just jump into a middle of a scene where he's like, "I didn't realize they had Kree cells here." And I was like, "Why the hell does he care about that? Is that going to play into this movie?" And then
I didn't
you're
really
like,
pick that up.
yeah, and then you're like, "Oh, it's because they're Skrulls, and they probably need to know
They
where
know,
the Kree skull, where the Kree
Right.
cells are."
Jake Gyllenhaal,
Yeah, great. I love them.
Quentin Beck, Mysterio.
Especially
Kind of
when-
a shame that he's dead.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. They've got his AI in the projector, which Peter Billingsley downloaded and has
Sure.
forever. Like, they could keep. I mean, I guess it sucks that he's not alive, but like they can keep using him forever.
They could keep from the perspective of the Sinister Six. Any potential.
Well, that
Sinister Six
part,
team.
yeah, I guess it
That's
wouldn't
where
make
I was
sense
going
when we
with
said-
that,
But I
yeah.
kind of like that they could still use
Yeah.
his stuff to mess with Peter.
Oh yeah, probably. And then we have Marissa Tomei, May Parker. We've talked about.
I like what she's doing, but I
Yeah.
guess I would like to see more of it to see how it actually
Yeah.
has more of an effect. But as I
Well,
pointed
I'm-
out, she does give him his suit,
Yeah.
so that's nice.
And I am hoping that the next movie has her heavily more involved and Peter and them potentially on the run or something like that to save her life or
Right.
something like that. At that point, I think we'll see more of her. But up till now, every time I've seen her on screen, I've really enjoyed her iteration of May Parker.
Me too.
Yeah.
Zendaya, great.
Zendaya is absolutely fantastic. Honestly, such a good MJ in the sense where she's just such a fun, weird person and just like, it does that awkwardness so well and
Yeah.
it's so cool.
And I like that they opened her up more. She wasn't.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with it, but
And I love
I've
the
heard
fact
so many people
yeah.
have a problem with her in Homecoming.
Yeah, that's weird. I whatever, but I guess that's just because like, hey, that's not what MJ is supposed to be, and like that's
I mean,
not the
she's
core
not-
character.
I mean,
and I'm like,
I like
don't-
that they can use the term MJ, but she isn't Mary Jane Watson.
she's not Mary Jane
Yeah.
Watson. Yeah,
So,
but
you don't have to worry about it.
exactly, and just the idea that she was never the damsel in distress. She like helps in her
Yeah,
own
like at
way.
one point I was like, oh no, are they gonna like make her
Yeah.
like when she's like, Peter, what's happening? I'm like, okay, it's just an illusion. Good.
Yeah.
And even in the illusion, it's not like a big deal.
Yeah.
I was like, because just like you, I was like, don't make her a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
And she's never.
She's
in fact,
never
she's the one
that.
that helps figure out like, oh, it's definitely Mysterio doing this stuff
Yes.
when she gets
when she gets the projector thing, and as well as the even though that was more accidental or whatever it was.
Well, she
but she
didn't
was just
know
like,
she would find it, but when she saw it, she knew to pick it.
she
Like
knew to
I thought
pick
they
it
did a
up
good
and be
job
like-
of being like, oh, I need that. Like I'm gonna take
to
that.
pick it up and be like, see, this is my proof that you are Spider-Man kind of
Yeah.
deal. I like that angle of it, and then them accidentally figuring that out. But
Oh
also,
yeah, which is like I was only 67% sure. So are
Yeah.
you being serious about being?
Yeah.
That was a good reveal actually. Like
I
like
love
when
that.
he was just like, okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am,
yeah,
and I
I'm
fucked
Spider-Man.
up. Like
Yeah.
I am.
that was really really great. And I loved how well they played that awkward teenage crush together on screen
Yes.
between Tom Holland and
They did a
Zendaya.
great job.
Great job between them, and the idea that she even took charge when they were in London Tower and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
to like pick up that mace and just like smash the robot.
And
all
then
that kind of
Happy
stuff.
tried to throw a shield like Cap.
That was
great.
one of the funniest moments to me. It's like, how does Cap do that? It was hilarious,
was
just
great.
absolutely hilarious. And we might as well talk about Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan right now. Easily some of the most heart wrenching scenes out there, funniest, and I think he's really starting to love Peter and see what Tony saw in Peter because from Homecoming and
well,
the scenes.
I feel like people forget this. At the end of Homecoming, it's made clear that Happy was the one that was like, "See, I told you, he's good."
Yeah,
So I think he always
but he
was
always
on board.
Yes,
It's
but
just
what I
he
mean
wanted
is.
they wanted to do more of a good cop, bad cop thing.
Yes, but what I mean more by that is like he's now making it known to Peter.
Yes.
Like he's breaking down that wall of it, which I think is really, really cool for that character.
It seems like it's broken down by the time we're seeing them.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Jacob Battalion as Ned Leeds, of course, still hilarious, still fun.
Jacob Batalon, great
Yeah.
stuff.
I loved how he was being like, hey, now I'm a mature man and I'm going to teach you about things. The thing that he said that made me laugh the hardest was the idea is like, man, Europeans love Americans over
Yeah.
European girls. I was laughing so hard and nobody else in the theater was laughing at that. By the way, it's July 4th that we're recording this, so take that comment however you will. But
I liked that he was nervous about his position as the man in the chair, like twice
Yes.
when he was like, "Hey, like don't take me being in a relationship as to being like I'm not. You're
Yeah.
still your guy in the chair." And then when MJ finds out, he's kind of like,
Hey.
"Oh, so."
you're a FOS
And
too.
then when she was like, and I helped
what?
him figure stuff out, and he's like,
What's
I don't like
FOS?
that.
Yes.
I don't-
Friend of Spider-Man.
No, he says that later when I think he's like, okay, I get how this is gonna work out. But
Yeah.
like at first he's kind of like, no,
Yeah,
I'm
'cause-
the guy that helps him figure things out. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, so you know, but I've known longer. So I mean, not a big deal. But I knew before you.
it was hilarious.
But yes, then later when Zendaya, well, I don't have to say her real name. When MJ's kind of like, oh, look, I'm worried. He's like, don't worry about it. You're a friend of Spider-Man now. Like this will all sort itself out.
And I like that moment where they're like, "Oh shit, we're here. We're the loose ends, like between."
Yeah.
And it's like we gotta get away from these guys, otherwise they're in trouble too. I really genuinely love that awareness of those characters that they had. Tony Revolori Flash Thompson.
just as good as the last one. And as I said,
More
I
heart-
like that they added that sad bit about
Yeah.
him trying to connect with his parents.
Yep.
I
Genuinely
mean, I
loved
feel
it.
like you could have assumed that from Homecoming, but the fact that he actually gets into it was nice.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the assumption could be made, but the confirmation was well appreciated. And just they did a lot with that, and just the idea was like, even like he's still so self-absorbed, trying to get attention from everywhere that he's like posting to his Instagram stories and all that kind
It
of
took
stuff.
me so
and
long to
Flash
realize.
Mob and all that.
Yeah, I was like Flash Mob, and then I'm like, oh, his name is Flash. Like it really did take me forever. I think it's till I saw it written out that I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like I was just like, why would you call it a Flash Mob? That's already a thing.
Yeah.
Then, anyway,
He's
Anori
rebranding
Rice. I don't actually know how to pronounce her name, but I heard someone say that once.
And Jory?
I feel like they ignore the G, kind of like Anori,
Oh God,
but who knows? I could be getting that wrong.
we're
She was-
notorious at
yeah,
mispronouncing.
she was.
names.
I mean, I feel like I remember her from The Nice Guys, and I'm sure she's in other stuff I've seen. But she was, she's great in the last movie as
Yep.
like trying to like kind of like ditch Jason, being like, "Sorry, I already have a date to the dance." And in this one, when she's like, "It's time for you to move on," and I was like, "Nice, I like that." And in this one, just her whole like, "Hey, babe, babe," and then they break up, and she's still like, "You're so wise." and then she clocked that MJ and Peter were good together. All good stuff.
Right.
And she pushed Ned to like leave the opera. She said, no one cares about this bullshit. Let's go out and like see the actual Festival of Lights.
Right.
Gets them in a lot of trouble, but like I was like, yeah, she's got her own agenda. I like that. Good for her. And then the teachers.
And then teachers, Martin Starr as Mr. Harrington. Always love seeing him. Ever since I saw him in Community, love seeing him on screen. He's hilarious.
Oh, I thought. Oh, you didn't see him in Freaks and Geeks? That was like his big thing.
Nope.
You would really
watch
like
Freaks
you would
and
like
Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks. It's
I
only
have
one
seen
season.
I've seen a few episodes of it and did enjoy it. You're right, but
It's not that big of a commitment. It's only one season, and it's like 13 episodes.
oh, that's disappointing.
I think
If
you'd
it,
like
no,
it.
I mean if it's something that's good and it's only one season, it's
Just plays like a long movie. Like
Or
you'll be
like
like,
a-
oh, that sorted itself
or
out.
like a British television.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And then JB Smoove as Mr. Dell, hilarious.
I
love
think
seeing
the
that guy a
only
lot.
joke that landed for me from JB Smoove, who I normally think is hilarious, was when he went to Brad. He's like, "Hey man, like, don't take pictures of people in the bathroom. Don't do that. Don't do it."
Kind of-
I was like, "That's him like doing what I like."
Yeah.
For the other stuff, I was kind of like, "Why would he assume it's witches? Like, would it be one thing if he was like, oh,
that was hilarious.
it's
to me.
Asgardians or something, but like try and immerse him more in like what actually is happening in his universe. But like witches, I was just kind of like, that's a stupid thing to cling to.
Well, maybe Scarlet Witch. Maybe that.
I don't think anyone knows her name is Scarlet Witch. It's not
True.
like she goes by Wanda most of the time.
She does go by.
I just thought like it.
I think
Is that like an ad lib that they were just like, I guess we have to stick with this now? Because I
Yeah.
would have like thrown out some more lines for him to use. Like,
I just really like the ideas. Like, yeah, you got to take care of the kids. I took an Ambien already. Like,
oh, that was funny. Yes,
that was
I like
really
that.
really funny.
Or
and then-
when he was like, when they're like, why would we want to go to the opera? He's like, don't look at me. And then he kept going like, hey, don't look at me. I am not a part of this.
Yep. Then we have Remy Hill as Brad Davis, very effective character.
Remy High.
Oh, yeah, that's two I's. I thought it was an H and I and an L.
Remy High.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Good stuff.
Great character there. And of course, Kobe Smulders as Maria Hill.
Yeah.
Always doing her thing, playing it serious. Not a lot of dynamic character development there, but still fun to see. I
She's
guess.
not, I mean, unfortunately, like anytime she's going to do something, it's in
gotta
the
be
comics,
serious.
usually it's against Nick Fury. That's like the only time she gets to be dynamic. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a thankless job.
Yeah.
So she's
So-
good. I guess she's doing fine.
I just like seeing her and stuff because
Yeah.
of How I Met Your Mother.
And I think this is her most screen time ever, other than possibly
Yes.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it's without a doubt the most screen time she's ever had in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
But
Good for her. All right.
Yeah.
Post-credit scenes.
Post credits, two big ones, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, one is just the end of the movie. Like, it's weird. I mean, not weird.
You
I
mean the
get
second
what-
one?
The mid-credit scene.
The mid-credit scene.
The
Yes.
mid-credit scene is legitimately the end of the movie. It's not.
Yes.
It's not like you could watch just up until the credits,
Right.
and be like, yeah, that's the movie, because
Yeah.
there's a big plot point that gets revealed.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a cameo that everyone likes, but it's like
That
no,
to
like
me is awesome.
But like, it's like, no, this is actually the end of the movie that
Right.
they're showing you right now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
this is not like just like it would have been cool if you saw it. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't watch it, it fundamentally changes the movie.
You know what's funny about my audience was like there's still people that leave right when that thing. I'm like,
Nobody in my audience, but yes.
but I'm just like, what? What's
Pauline
going
didn't
on?
even look to me to be like, is there post credit? She was like
She knows.
invested. She was
Yeah.
just like,
The only
No, I
time,
mean, yeah.
the only time there wasn't one was Endgame, and that
I
to me
still
was
made
just
her
like,
wait for that, and she was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, no, still, I was the exact same way. I was just like, no. I know your game here. There's gonna be something that's gonna be, like, I don't know. There's gonna be something. And lo and behold, there was nothing.
No,
So
there's nothing.
I mean,
So J.K. Simmons is back as J. Jonah Jameson.
and I love the fact that the Daily Bugle is not a reputable news
Yeah, it's
thing.
like
It's
a
like a tabloid
rumor.
type online, whatever gossip thing.
Yeah,
is.
and I did not hear his dialogue because people were
Yeah.
so busy cheering.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I guess it's fine. And then I heard, basically, I kind of heard over the cheering, like, basically Mysterio is the best superhero
Yes.
ever. Like, can you believe? And yeah, they flat out go like, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and I was like, who cares? No one knows what he looks like. And
Right.
then like they show his face, and I was like,
oh shit.
you're fucked, and
Yeah.
then they end on another what the fuck
Yeah.
moment. That was a nice
I
callback.
really appreciate
except for
that.
that it was like a real punch in the gut. You weren't like ha ha ha.
Yeah.
You were like, oh shit.
Yep.
Like that's that.
Yep.
Because they did a great job of illustrating how like it would really suck for him if everyone knew who he was.
Yes.
Like earlier in the movie when he puts on the Night Monkeys, he's like, well, no, I can't wear my Spider-Man suit because
They're gonna figure it out.
because of Washington, and then I show up here, they're gonna piece it together, and once
Yeah.
they piece it together, other people piece it together, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
And
And that was great.
personally, I'm like, people are gonna find out anyway. But
Well, yeah.
it always happens that way. But it's just like
But like
I
yeah.
can see how he would be paranoid about like, well, I can't control what people say about me.
Right.
I like that this angle wasn't I have to protect my loved ones. It was legitimately like, no, as soon as people say, they're gonna just tell.
Yeah.
And once they tell, I'm fucked.
Yeah, and in the comics, there's of course his identity reveal.
Well, he did that
was-
on his own
He did that on
part.
his own, which is a big thing for in support of the superhero act. And then he has huge consequences, like Kingpin kills Aunt May and all that kind of stuff. And then he goes to get a whole bunch of people together, including Doctor Strange, to cast a spell on the like the whole world to make them forget that he's Peter Parker, which is
But then
pretty
he
interesting.
loses MJ in the process.
Yes, but he also loses MJ in the process.
So yeah, let's get back to the what happens in the movie. Yeah, so that's all that. Not that's all, but that's the whole post credit or mid credit scene, right?
Yep.
That
Huge implications. I mean, like, what do you think is going to happen now? Is he going to go on the
don't know.
run? Is he going to like?
no idea. I have no idea. I just know
Is
that
Happy going to
it
put
puts-
them in like Avengers Tower and be like, nope, we're protecting you for the rest of your life or something like that? You're in some sort of lockdown.
It puts
or-
him out there. It makes him kind of like every other hero in that universe, though, where there is no real.
Absolutely.
But I liked that Spider-Man still had a secret identity. but-
Yes, because like every other hero out there, we've never really seen their family life except for like really Thor. But even Thor is like in Asgard and it had no implications that oh yeah he's Thor like
and Ant-Man.
yeah well oh yeah Ant-Man too.
Ant-Man's a big part of that.
Yeah.
I
I completely forgot about
and
Ant-Man.
Hawkeye.
Yeah. Yes, but Hawkeye had the protection program with Shield and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. With
No,
his
you were
family.
just. I thought you were just making a point that we haven't seen their home lives.
Right,
And I
right.
was just pointing out times we have.
No, but
and
it's
definitely
never
Black
had the
Panther.
same level of implication. Yes, and Black Panther, but of course they have the Kingsguard.
Yes.
Protecting
So
their
yeah,
family
I
and that kind of
think
stuff.
that's. Oh, that reminds me. If someone took note of all the movie options
Mm-hmm.
when they were on the plane. There's a documentary about Wakanda. There's a documentary about.
Tony.
Yeah, well, that one's obviously one that he ends up watching, and I think there was a Captain Marvel one, and I don't remember. There's another one
Yeah,
that I thought that was interesting.
that was definitely a nod to something. I can't remember what it is for the life of me, but it was like one of those Easter egg type things.
Yeah,
Just
but yeah,
like how they said Earth 616, which is exactly what
Yeah.
it is in the
But it
comics.
turns out
and
he
all that kind of
just
stuff.
made that up.
He just made that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Or the writer of the whole Mysterio thing made that
yeah,
up.
sorry,
Yeah.
we should give credit where credit's due. The guy I don't know the name of,
Yes.
he made it up. But yeah, I liked that it forces him into like you feel like there's definitely like what am I trying to say here? There's an element of like, well, that really will push the third movie forward. Like there's not going to really be any like, oh yeah, we can just completely ignore the events of this one.
Right.
It's like, no, this is probably going to hinge. A lot of stuff will hinge on that reveal right there, and I think.
Well, it's interesting because they, in Homecoming, the guy that's supposed to turn into Scorpion, Mark Agnon, he's like, oh, what's his identity? We got to find him and everything
Well,
like
he
that.
knows now, yeah.
And then now he knows, and now his people know. So there are stakes involved for him and
So
his.
they could be
his
getting closer
stuff.
and closer to a Sinister Six.
Yeah, versus like everyone else out there. Yes, they do know their identities. They're out there in the Marvel universe and all that kind of stuff, but they've been able to sidestep or get away from it in one way, shape, or form. But he's still literally just a kid with without the resources everyone else had. Right?
It will force him to be a lot more creative. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Or I guess we'll just get another movie with like 3 suits in it.
Yeah.
But I feel like he always goes back to those eyes, which even on the Spider Monkey thing, I'd be like, I feel like the Night Monkey thing. I feel like I would still think that was Spider-Man.
Right, but didn't they explain that in Civil War where they had to have
No.
eyes
I'm saying the shape of them.
I see.
Because they still look like Spider-Man eyes.
Yes, they do.
But yeah, that was good. And I guess I would think that the next movie will probably be him proving he's not Peter Parker. Like Spider-Man is not Peter Parker. Peter Parker is not Spider-Man. That would have to be a lot of it, like, because it's not like it came from.
Yeah.
I don't want to say a news source and have people think I think that's a reputable source up like beyond reproach, but like it came from basically like a back alley blog. Like it's not like it came from a source everyone in that universe trusts.
Yes.
So there is some leeway for him to do it. And I didn't say it ahead of time because usually these things don't amount to anything, but there is rumors this time that the Daredevil might appear in the third Spider-Man.
Interesting.
And you could use Matt Murdock for that, like his legal like defense.
Yes. And that's a very, very interesting when they did the Spider-Man animated series and they did do the Trials of Spider-Man and Matt Murdock was there. That was a really, really good storyline. So that would be actually really, really interesting to see. And of course, the rights of those characters will revert back to Disney by that time, whenever we get a Phase 4 announcement.
Right. And
we're suspecting Comic-Con, but Hall H, but who knows? But Kevin Feige did say we're going to see it soon.
That's a new approach to Kevin Feige.
Yeah, Feige. We're gonna see the lineup pretty soon. So we're gonna hang on to our hats there.
So let's get to the post-credit scene.
Before then, the post-credit scene, we find that Nick Fury was actually on a spaceship the entire time with.
So yeah, we don't know where Maria Hill is, but we know that the people posing as Maria Hill and Nick Fury were Skrulls, Talos and his wife from Captain Marvel. And what I liked about this, because I don't really like the whole shape-shifting thing, I like that this was not like they're trying to pull one over on Nick Fury or like do something mean. It's literally like, I'm sure he asked them, hey, like, I'm going to be out in space. People are saying he's probably dealing with S.W.O.R.D. now that S.H.I.E.L.D. is done.
Yeah.
And like, as other people have mentioned, like, that Thanos thing is a big deal. So he probably is like, well, now I have to be proactive and like go out into space.
Yes.
And so that to keep a Nick Fury presence on Earth makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially a Maria Hill one, because she seems to interface with them a lot as well.
I agree. And I really like that actually. And I was actually really wondering whether or not you would like it or not, because you don't like the switcheroo stuff.
Yeah, I don't like it when it's like it was the villain, and like if they left it on like, oh, like why, like the Stryker having yellow eyes at the end of Days of Future Past. Like if that's what they did, where it was like, oh, they just turn into the Skrulls and it's done, I would be like, why though?
Yeah.
Why did that happen?
Yep.
But they go through the process of like they kind of give you a why is Nick Fury where he is, but I feel like there's enough clues there and stuff to like keep you interested. Whereas like you understand that it's not something nefarious. Like it's like they were probably asked to help out. And I like that he was kind of like, we gave him the glasses. It was very beautiful. And then it kind of went completely off the rails after that.
Yeah. That was really
it's
funny.
really embarrassing as a shapeshifter that I didn't see this coming. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I love that little Ben Mendelsohn cameo.
Yeah, that was
because with a scene stealer from Captain Marvel for sure, with his Talos portrayal. So really love that cameo there. And of course, the sword thing, I think it's a very likely thing, because this is adding into what I was talking about with Endgame, where I think that there's going to be two basic iterations of where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to go. They're going to start building out the space stuff with Captain Marvel and hopefully a Nova movie, maybe Adam Warlock showing up, maybe rumored as Keanu Reeves playing Adam Warlock. We don't know what's going to happen with Guardians, but of course you have the Guardians, Captain Marvel. They're going to build out the cosmic universe a lot more, and then you're going to have the grounded heroes, where I think depending on what happens with Spider-Man 3, they're going to build up like a new Avengers or something like that. And they're just going to have to do that because Earth still needs defending, because of many, many, many different reasons, obviously. But
there's more Mysterios out there.
yeah, there's more Mysterios. There's more people wanting to attack, and space tech, for example, from the Spider-Man Homecoming, for like the Vulture people manipulating stuff there. But there's a lot more on-ground stuff that needs to be done, and Spider-Man's a great character for that. And
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. Maybe the introduction of Daredevil, maybe the introduction of the Fantastic Four. We'll see, but I don't think they're going to actually be able to do Fantastic Four stuff that fast into it.
Well, I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
Phase 4 lasted long enough. I'm sure there's.
Yeah.
Sorry, Phase 3 lasted long enough in terms of amount of movies. So.
Yeah, because how many movies were in Phase 3?
I don't know.
Yeah, but it was definitely
Phase
longer
3
than Phase
ends
2.
at Ant-Man, right? Civil War was the first Phase 3.
Yes. Ant-Man was the way that Phase 2 ended in the Civil War, and then we got all those movies in between. So we
I
got
guess
Black
it's not
Panther,
bad.
Doctor Strange. We got a lot of different
Yeah.
stuff. So we're going to build that out. And the spiritual world, too, with Doctor Strange is going to be built up, too, but I don't know who's going to complement that character, because we're definitely going to get a Doctor Strange, too. Right?
Yes, we are.
So, yeah.
We definitely are.
Very cool. All right, rating time. What
I
do you got?
forgot we have to do that.
Yeah, we got to do it. It's our thing, our 10-point scale of
I went first
arbitrary
last
numbers.
time, I remember, because I rated Dark Phoenix first.
damn
You
it.
got to go first.
Yeah, all right. Doing a 9.5 there. I love this movie so much.
I'm going to go 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what the thing too is, like, I don't know why I'm not giving it a 10 for how much I love this movie, but I also don't know where it can improve. So
Yeah,
to me,
I
it's
mean-
weird that I'm not giving it a 10 and I'm giving it only a 9.5. But I don't know. You guys can let me know. Tweet us out.
It was an
do your thing.
8.5 for me until we had this conversation.
Oh,
I
yeah?
bumped it up to a 9.
Oh, nice.
But that's, I mean, yeah, I really like it. Now I have to go back and watch Homecoming and then Far From Home again to see which one I like better. But because Homecoming really like grew on me as the years went.
Oh, yeah.
And then this one I was like, I really like this right away, and then I tried to like calm down, and I feel like I have to watch it again to see where it sits when I see it again.
Fair enough. But right now, I've got a 9.5.
Yeah, and a 9 from me.
Strong movie, easily.
Great,
Really, really great.
great time.
Great way to end off Phase 3. Great way to see have us wildly speculate about what's
Yeah,
next. But
true.
we will be there to talk about that
Excellent.
when it happens.
And if you want to listen to more podcasts, not even necessarily like this, but just more podcasts, please go to thatshelf.com, where you'll find podcasts like Black Hole Films, Bad Gay Movies, Highly Logical, and you know what? There's one called No Budget Nightmares. It's got a great theme song. So yeah, go there.
And you won't say this, but I will. But Movies versus Matrimony.
Yeah, that is a podcast, and
Yeah,
it is
he's
on
being
thatshelf.com.
humble about that.
And if you want to listen to
Damn.
more, if you want to listen to episodes 60 and under of Spoiled Rotten, that is, please go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten, where you will find my Twitter, my Instagram, Ben's Twitter, Ben's Instagram, and all of the social media handles for this, as well as opportunities to rate, subscribe, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and Radio Public. And I'm sure there's other places you guys listen to podcasts. You can probably rate and review and subscribe there as well. That would be really helpful to us. And if you want to, you can email us at spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. I knew I'd get it right somewhere. And sorry that we didn't do a full thing on Jessica Jones, but as Ben said, I do not like these Netflix things anymore.
It's
and
the
there's no
exact
point.
same reason why we didn't do a full episode on Dark Phoenix.
Well,
Because we were
I would
just
have done a full episode. I
shit
just
all over
wasn't here. I mean, I can't imagine doing a full one on Jessica Jones, but I probably would have done a full one on Dark Phoenix. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye, everybody.
Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.